For the TV studios of Fort Hall at Eastern Michigan University, it's EMU Admissions Unplugged. Tonight, admission counselors will answer your questions live via Twitter at #VisitEMU. So get your questions ready and meet your advisors on EMU Admissions Unplugged live.
Good evening and welcome to Admissions Unplugged. My name is Ben Fielder. I'm an advisor here in the Office of Admissions. I'm joined by my colleagues, Kate Castle and Alex Landon, and we are excited tonight to be live streaming this event for the next hour and to answer questions that you have about the admissions process, the application process, scholarship information. So we'll be kind of covering it all tonight as we go through this presentation. This is an interactive presentation, and so what we're most excited about is to hear your specific questions that you have for us. So I'd like to encourage you to get on Twitter, and you can ask your questions using the hashtag #VisitEMU at any time. As we start to get those questions, we'll be talking about those, but I want to spend just a couple minutes here in the beginning just giving a little bit of short introductions. I'll start with you, Alex. Talk to us just a little bit about your experience of coming to Eastern. I know Alex is a graduate assistant in our office, and so talk a little bit about completing your bachelor's degree here and now a part of your master's program and what really brought you to Eastern.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the thing that really brought me to Eastern was, as you're going through the college search process, you run into a lot of different things. You go to different places, you're being funneled through the process. The entire process can be really overwhelming when it comes to all of that. And I know that when I came to Eastern, the big thing that really hit me was that it was the first place that I went for a visit that I felt like I was more than a number to somebody. There were people around who wanted to help me, who wanted to see me succeed, and they didn't just want to know, what questions do you have about admissions? They wanted to know, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And how can we help you do that? And that was a big thing for me. And I think a lot of times we kind of overlook this whole idea when people are looking for colleges about finding something that's right for you. But there definitely is something that goes wrong with finding the right fit and finding some place that you're really going to enjoy being. I mean, one of the great things about being here at Eastern is that we have a lot of students here. There's a lot of people. There's 23,000 students that are here on our campus, and the thing that makes it so unique is that in that huge mess, you never feel like you're lost. Because no matter where you go on this campus, you find friendly faces to say hello to. You know, even on terrible days when you just like are angry and you just want to walk someplace and have nobody bother you, somebody stops you. Somebody's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you're just like, "I wish you'd get away from me now." But at the same time, it's great to have those people around because it makes you feel like you found some place that's really home for you. And that's something that I think is beyond important when you're thinking about those things, because when you're looking at colleges, it's easy to be attracted to the bells and the whistles and all those things, but what you're really going to find is some place where you fit, and you're going to find some place where you can find things while you're in school to really cling to and find a way to engage at that university and find something that you're happy with. And that's really what happened for me.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know for students we often talk about finding that right fit. Many of you may have been on our campus this past Saturday for Explore Eastern, or you may have been on our campus for a daily campus tour over the past couple months. And so I hope that you enjoyed that campus tour, and we encourage you to come back and visit campus if you still want to see more of that. And so Kate, going into a question that oftentimes is asked when we go to high schools and college fairs, talk a little bit about the first year transition, coming out of high school, transitioning into college. What's going to help you the most as far as tips to be successful in that first year?
Sure. So one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give to incoming students is to get involved. And when I say that, I mean outside of the classroom as well, because making that transition from high school to college is difficult. You have a very structured schedule when you're a high school student. You go to class from 7:30 till 2:30 in the afternoon. Maybe you go to sports practice afterwards. You might have a part-time job. Maybe you, you dedicate some hours of the evening to studying. You eat dinner, you go to class and do it all over again the next day. Every day is a routine. It's very structured. In college, it's not as structured, and that can be really difficult for students. So I always encourage them to get involved. If you were used to having that structure and involvement in the high school setting, do the same things in college, and there are ways to do that. At a school like Eastern, like you said, we have a large enrollment. That means that we offer a lot to those students outside of the classroom as well, and it really forces students to manage their time. I know from a personal experience, I was that probably overly involved high school student, and when I got to college, I felt like I had a void. Once I maneuvered my way through the high school or through the college classes, through the week, it was like, wow, I have a few pockets in the week where I have some free time. And it was really easy to procrastinate and get on Facebook and, spend some time with friends. And before I knew it, I wasn't prepared for my test the next day, So once I got involved, started playing some intramural sports, I joined a sorority, I made some friends, I started doing the community service, things that I'd been doing at the high school level that forced me to manage my time. And then I found that I was enjoying my college experience a little bit more. I think that's when students really gain a lot from the college experience.
Sure, and I know the big transition oftentimes is it's not just getting involved in class, but also in the activities that are happening outside of class. And like as an example, I was part of an organization called InterVarsity. My job in that organization was to get in front of a group of 70 to 80 students every Thursday evening and talk to them about campus and announcements. And I now use the skills that I gained from doing that for a couple years in high school, in college, in what I do now in my job in admissions. And so to understand that you're learning both in the classroom and outside of the classroom is a key piece to help students in that transition.
Absolutely.
And I would throw in on that note that one of the great things about that experience when it comes to Eastern Michigan is that there are over 350 different things that you can do on our campus. And those things range everywhere from varsity sports. We have 21 Division I athletics here, all the way down to a couple of years ago, some guys got together and they started a Nerf gun club. The sky is the limit when it comes to student organizations. And I think the other big thing that I would add just to the piece of advice to give to first-year students is taking advantage of campus resources. There is a big difference between high school classes and when you're moving into college classes. And I think the biggest piece of advice I can give, whether you end up at Eastern or any other university in the country, is academic advising offices and free tutoring centers. Those are great things to take advantage of. And one of the things that you kind of notice as you get into college is that when you're in high school, at the beginning of a class, a lot of times you can notice that you're not doing so well in a class, halfway through the semester, and then you have time to kind of fix that up. But a lot of times in college, a class might be made up of only 3 or 4 assignments through the entire program. So you want to make sure that those resources you're not only using, but you're using them very proactively, and you're ensuring that you are prepared for anything that might happen in your classes, and that you're really engaging in those as well.
Sure,
right, that's
absolutely.
a good point.
Yep. We had some questions that came in prior to this evening, and so we're going to jump into some of those questions. But again, we do encourage you, if you are on Twitter, to send us any questions using the hashtag #VisitEMU. We'll first talk a little bit about just what it takes to get in as far as the academics. So Kate, if you'll talk a little bit about the GPA and ACT scores that we're looking for in the admissions process, and then what else do we require? Do we need letters of recommendation or an essay as part of our application process?
Sure. So you're starting off with an interesting question, because unfortunately there is not a black and white answer to this question. So we get this a lot, especially with meeting with students in the high schools. We're asked, what do I need to get in, right? What are your magic numbers, your admission criteria? So we operate on a sliding scale for admissions, which means that we take into consideration your test score and your GPA, whether that's the ACT or the SAT. We do accept both. When I say sliding scale, what that means is it benefits a student who might be maybe not as great of a test taker, or maybe they really struggled during freshman year, had not so great of a GPA, they've worked hard over the course of high school, obviously, but maybe their GPA is a little lower. So we do give consideration to students who maybe have a slightly higher ACT score, a lower GPA, and then the other component will make up for that. What I do always tell students, though, just to help a little bit, for students who have less than a 2.0, and this is at the high school level, for high school students who have less than a 2.0 cumulative GPA, regardless of what the ACT score is, they are not admissible. Now, on the test score side of things, for students who have less than a 15, so 14 or under on the ACT score, regardless of their GPA, they are also not admissible. But from there, it's a sliding scale, okay? So it is a little tricky to understand. I always encourage students to reach out to us too. We're more than happy to have those conversations as admissions advisors and talk about their admissibility. But just know it does take both things into consideration.
Sure. And you'll find at Eastern we have rolling admissions, and so what that means is we're basically admitting students throughout the entire year, all the way up until classes start in the fall. So for a student that might right now not qualify for admission, I always encourage them, there's plenty of time during your senior year to retake the ACT if you're going to take it for a second or third time. And then also we want to see your final high school transcripts to see what that final GPA is. And we'll always always take that in consideration and look at that final information to see if you still would qualify for admission, even if it's later in May or June after you've graduated from high school. So.
If I can, because I didn't mean to disregard the second part of your question, you had mentioned something about other application requirements.
Sure, yep.
So letters of recommendation or personal essays. Our application actually does not require that information. We are more than happy to accept that and of course take a look at that. Where it does become a factor though is maybe with students who might be right on the bubble, or maybe there are some special circumstances that we might need to review for your application, and that information can be very helpful to us at that point. But generally it is not a requirement for the application.
Sure, awesome. All right, we're going to jump into one more question here. Oftentimes a student may have some questions about the FAFSA. They want to know a little bit more about that. Can you give us, Alex, some tips on the FAFSA, when maybe we should be filling that out and submitting it, and what's the best way we can learn about the FAFSA?
Absolutely. So the FAFSA is one of those things that we get question upon question about. And the reason is it's one of those parts of the college application process that you simply have no idea about until you get into it.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
So we often get questions about, what is the FAFSA? What is this document? What is this paperwork that I have to fill out? And what the FAFSA is, for anyone who's unaware of what it is the FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And what the FAFSA does is students fill it out after the first of the year, and that's for next year. And what the FAFSA does is it tells them if they're eligible for any kind of federal aid in terms of their college education. But it's also really important. We have a lot of students that they say, well, I'm not going to be eligible for any aid, so why fill out my FAFSA?
Yep.
But it's really important to make sure that every student is filling out the FAFSA. And the big reason for that is because what we find is that students, a lot of universities also offer grants out of their own funding that are based on FAFSA information, that are based on need from families. So it's important to make sure that you fill that out and you put down all of the schools that you're interested in looking at so that they get that information, so that they can then, what we do here at Eastern is we actually provide a comprehensive financial aid package to our students in the spring that lays out for them straight away. This is the amount that school would cost. This is how much scholarship money you were eligible for. This is how much grant money you've been eligible for, so that we can give you a realistic bottom line of what it's going to cost to go to school. Now, I said earlier that you can fill the FAFSA out as of January 1st. The important thing to know is we do want you to get that filled out as soon as possible. Most people will do it after they finish up filing their taxes. A great date to keep in mind and an easy one to remember is Valentine's Day. That's a great time to have in mind. Our deadline for scholarships based on the FAFSA is March 1st, but keep Valentine's Day in mind as an important day.
Sure. And for most of you, you will probably have a financial aid night that your school offers. So I would encourage you to check that out, talk with your counselors, and you can find out more. Usually that happens around January or February at your school. So talk to your counselors about that. It's a great way to learn more of the details on the FAFSA. So, all right, jumping into another question here. It's regarding a pretty prestigious scholarship that we have called our Presidential Scholarship. I'm going to give this one to you, Alex, to talk a little bit about first. Talk to me a little bit about the Presidential Scholarship competition. This is a competition for students that have at least a 3.5 GPA, cumulative GPA, and at least a 25 or higher ACT composite score. Talk a little bit about how that competition works and what you can get if you win.
Absolutely. So, as you said before, the Presidential Scholarship is definitely our most prestigious scholarship that we offer at the university. The competition is for full ride scholarships to our university. Now, as you said, a student has to have at least a 3.5 GPA, at least a 25 on their ACT in order to compete. The competition happens the first 2 Saturdays of December of a student's senior year of high school. So for all of the seniors, it's coming up in December, and then the December's following that. Now, the competition consists of an essay and an interview, and really the best piece of advice that we can ever give students is be yourself at that competition, and you might get rewarded for it.
Sure, absolutely. I would say, too, it's also really tied into our Honors College, so it's a great opportunity to compete in that competition, and we're going to take a short break and be right back to learn more.
Are you an EMU student interested in getting a first-hand experience working at a radio station? Well, say no more. EMU offers a class through Eagle Radio that will thoroughly prepare you for a real-life experience. But first, you have to register for the class. pick a date and a time slot. Then the world is yours. Eagle Radio allows you to be fully independent and customize your own show. Have real conversations about the news, celebrity gossip, update listeners about the weather, play a trivia game. It's your show. You're free to name your show whatever you want and play any edited music of your choice. If you love having heated debates and you feel your words need to be heard, then Eagle Radio is just for you.
All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the public service announcement. We're going to jump right back in to that presidential scholarship competition. The competition takes place the first 2 Saturdays in December. And so for students that do qualify academically, we would encourage you to go onto our website. I'll give you that website. It's emich.edu/PSC. That's where you're going to find the detailed information about the competition. It's also where you're going to go to sign up to compete. You're going to pick one of those Saturdays for the competition. A big benefit of that competition, oftentimes students ask us, well, how many scholarships are you giving out and how many students are competing? This past year, I know we had over 400 students that were part of that competition, and I know that's quite a few, but this year we're giving out 20 presidential scholarships. So 20 students will receive that full ride scholarship, which covers the tuition and the room and board. The advantage is, though, every student that competes is guaranteed a spot in our Honors College. This is pretty prestigious. Our Honors College over the past 3 years has doubled in size, and it's really designed to be a reward for what you did in high school. And so you'll learn all about the Honors College on that day. We encourage your parents to come as well to the Presidential Scholarship Competition. They'll be going through sessions as you're going through your essay and going through your interview, and it's just a great way to meet people. I have found many students that come there not knowing anyone, meet someone during the lunchtime, and then end up deciding that they're going to live with that student on campus. And so it's a great way that you can learn more about the university and also just have a fun time. I know competition doesn't necessarily sound like fun, but it really is. It's a great competition. This past year, 52% of the students that competed actually enrolled at the university, so we're pretty proud of that statistic. So we'll jump into a new question here. Talking specifically, we're a teaching institution, and so it's important to understand a little bit more about our professors. So Kate, can you talk a little bit about our professors? Are they teaching classes? Are they doing research? And how big are the classes here?
Sure, that's a great question. And I think the reason I like this so much is it addresses a big misconception, I think, that exists about education at the public university, right?
Sure.
Especially at a larger institution like we are. So I think the misconception is that students are always going to have graduate students teaching them or teacher aides. They're never actually going to have a relationship with their professors. And that is actually something that is possible at Eastern. So your classes will be taught by professors. The majority of our professors, and when I say majority, I'm talking grand majority, about 95% of our professors actually have terminal degrees. So students, you're going to be dealing with a lot of PhDs, a lot of master's degrees, which does not mean that they are scary. What that means is that they're very experienced. They have connections to the real world, so they can help set you up with internships, or they have connections for permanent placement once you're graduating. So absolutely, you can establish that relationship with your professors, and they will be teaching your courses. Now, as far as the class size,
Sure.
that addresses another big misconception about the public institution. So we have almost 90% of the undergraduate course options here, the offerings that we have for those undergraduate courses, they're actually capped at 30 students.
Wow.
So the majority of classes that students will be sitting in, I find, are very similar to what they're used to sitting in at the high school level already.
Sure.
It makes for a very smooth transition. I don't want to imply, though, that students will never sit in a lecture hall. That does happen, and it will happen just a handful of times. I mean, just a few times, typically over the course of freshman and sophomore year, but we don't even fill our auditoriums to capacity. We strive to keep our class sizes as small as possible. It goes back to that teaching philosophy that we have here at Eastern. We were first and foremost known as a teaching institution, and that teaching mentality is still very prevalent in the classroom. So nice, small, personal learning environment that
Sure.
you get here.
Yep. And you'll find that our faculty, for the most part, since we are a teaching institution, our faculty are here to teach, and they also apply to a job at Eastern because they like to teach and they like to interact with students. And so generally we attract professors here that are applying to jobs that really want to be in the classroom. That's really what they're looked upon by their deans to do at the university. We're going to jump over to Twitter. We have a question that's been submitted. It's been submitted by Megan. So I'll take a crack at it first, and you guys can, of course, add in some information. She wants to know a little bit about the FAFSA, a little bit more details. So do I have to fill out a FAFSA every year or just when I start? This is really important. We want you to fill out the FAFSA at every single year. And so you'll want to make sure that every year you're kind of putting that on your calendar, or you're giving yourself some reminder to make sure that I should be filling out the FAFSA and getting that submitted. You'll continue, if you're going to a school, if you're going to Eastern, you'll submit that every single year and make sure you include our code so it gets sent to us. At all of our grant aids, so if you qualify for any university grant money, that's going to be given to you on a yearly basis. It's not guaranteed for every year, where our academic scholarships are renewable scholarships. So your FAFSA every year will let you know what additional grant aid you qualify for. So, all right, let's take a look at another question. We'll start with this one with Alex, and we can all kind of jump in. So for students, Kate was talking a little bit about the criteria to get in. She's talking about that 2.0 GPA and that 15 ACT composite score being kind of the baseline. If you have the lower GPA, then of course the ACT has to be higher, or vice versa. For a student that might be below our regular admission criteria, can you talk a little bit about any bridge programs that we have? Do we have a conditional admit program, and kind of how those work?
Absolutely. So there are definitely two important programs that we would like to talk about right in that area. And they're two programs for two different sets of students. And the first one of those programs that functions very much like a traditional bridge program is called our Summer Incentive Program. And our Summer Incentive Program are for students who are just below that line where we want them to be in order to be admissible to the university. And what that program is students come to campus the summer before they come to school in the fall. They spend about 6 weeks with us, and during that 6 weeks they're taking classes, they're living on campus, they're interacting with tutors and academic advisors and faculty members, and it's almost like a pre-college boot camp to prepare for that first semester of college. And once students complete that program, then they'll start school in the fall and keep moving through. It's almost like a pre-college preparation program. Now, the second program that we offer in terms of support programs is for our students who are just above that line where we want them to be for admission, and that's called our PASS program. And the PASS program is like a first-year support system. Like, for example, we put things in place like we do block scheduling for our PASS students so that they are taking classes together with other students. We schedule academic coaches to meet with them every other week so that they're getting interaction with people who are going to support them. And we make sure that that first semester, that first year goes really well, because we want to make sure that those students get off to a good start and are transitioning well into college. Because in addition to those things, they're also taking a seminar class called UNIV, in which they are learning transition skills, they're learning studies skills, they're learning career planning, all of those things that they need to succeed as they go through their next couple of years, and we want to make sure that first year gets off to a good start.
Sure, and from our admission standpoint, the Summer Incentive Program is a program that we will recommend a student to if they qualify in that range for it, but it is a separate application process. So as from the admission standpoint, we simply recommend you to this program, and then you follow through with a separate application and an interview to be a part of that program.
And one other thing too about both of those programs that we were just discussing, it's not like you wear a sign on your back, right? You know, you're not going to be ostracized on campus. Other students aren't going to know that you're in the Summer Incentive Program or that you're a PASS student. So I never want a student to look at that like it's a punishment in any way. It's really just something that you and academic support staff on campus will really identify, you know, how we can help make you a more successful college student.
And some of our highest retention rates and graduation rates are tied in to both of these programs. So it really has proven itself that it's a very effective program. I'm going to jump over to Twitter one more time. Got a question from BJ. He knows our names, Alex, Ben, and Kate, so he's already on top of it there. Kudos. What's your favorite thing about EMU? I guess I'll start. For me, I think you're going to find that the type of student that Eastern attracts, oftentimes the student is comes from maybe more of a working class background. Our students are oftentimes working while they're taking classes at the university, and so you find a student that really has kind of grown up understanding that there's a work ethic that has to be there to be successful. And so we find students here that are balancing a lot, and that's why that time management skill is a huge one. But they're really kind of down-to-earth people that I feel like they're going to transition, and they really have great people skills, and they've learned the hard work ethic that you really need to be successful as you transition into your first job as well. So that's the area for me. So
I would say that my favorite thing about the university, it's the people. It's the people, and I mean that on two different levels. I certainly mean that in terms of the students that are here. You made a great point about the students here, but the other great part about students here is that we find that our students on our campus, they want to be here, and they love to be here. One of the things that I can't brag about enough to other people who are at other places and they work in other jobs is I've never seen passion for the place where people go to school like I do here. Not only are these students here and they're learning and they're doing really well, but students here, they want to be here. They want to be Eagles. They want to be a part of this. And that's awesome. It's just an awesome environment to be in, because as a student, you have other students who are excited about being on campus. You have other students who want to succeed, who want to get involved, who want to be in organizations and all of those kind of things. But then in addition to that, from my experience, I can also tell you that the professors here are outstanding. Not only are they qualified and they teach well, and those things are great, but the other thing that they do is that they're great people. They're great people to talk to. They're great people to give you advice. You know, I remember a time in my experience where I went into a professor's office hours just to say hi, let him know what my name was. When I was in college, I was a suck-up. I'm okay with that. So I went in just to say what my name was and say hello. And I ended up chatting with my professor, not even about course matter, but just about football for the next hour. And we chatted and we ended up having lunch together. And I ended up building a relationship with that faculty member. And it goes to show you that faculty at our institution, they want more than for you to succeed in their class.
Sure.
They want to see you succeed, and they want to know who you are. And they vest interest in people who vest interest in themselves.
awesome, cool.
So
Kate, you're on.
I would have to say, and I'll try to go a little outside of the box here. I would have to say one of my favorite things about Eastern is its location, okay? And when I'm talking about location, I'm talking, southeastern Michigan. We actually, so of course people know Ypsilanti as Ypsi. We like to call it Ypsi Arbor as well. We're extremely close to Ann Arbor. The two communities interact a lot with one another. And I think one of the most unique things about the enrollment here is when you combine it with enrollment at the University of Michigan right down the road. We have community colleges in the area, another private university in Ann Arbor. So when you're on our main campus, within a 10-mile radius during the school year, you're surrounded by almost 100,000 college students. That makes for one really cool and unique higher education environment. And it exposes to students to things that they probably didn't get in high school. They're being exposed to new political beliefs and new religious beliefs and new cultures. And I think it just makes them so much more prepared to be a real person when they leave college. So it's really great.
And I feel like coming as an example, I came from a high school, public high school, 70 kids in my graduating class, and then transitioning to a university that's as large as Eastern is, it was quite a change for me. But if you're willing to step outside of your box, if you're willing to get involved in new areas, you're really going to find that you find an area that really fits for you, and you meet people that really, you kind of form that small knit group. And a lot of times that happens in our residence halls where we have 4,000 students that are part of our residential area. And so you find a much smaller knit group of people where they're interacting on a daily basis and getting to know each other. And so that makes for a really great way to take a big school and really make it feel small. We're going to take a short break here pretty quickly. We're going to jump in after the break into more questions. I do want to remind you, if you haven't done so already, get onto Twitter if you have those questions, and I know you have some questions out there, so make sure that you tweet them to us. You're going to use the hashtag #VisitEMU, and so tweet your questions to us. We'll get those in over the break, and we're excited to answer more questions, and we'll be back shortly. So thanks for joining us, and enjoy this next public service announcement. All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the public service announcement. We're going to continue into questions. I do want to remind you, if you have just joined the program and you're just checking it out, all of the answers to our questions are going to be on our website, emich.edu/explore. And so if there was a question that you wanted to ask, or there was a question you saw but you didn't catch the answer, I would encourage you to go check that out online. It will be available after this event's over, so you can get some more questions answered that way. We're going to continue talking a little bit more about the campus life, campus atmosphere. Alex is going to talk a little bit about the diversity you're going to find here on campus, and then we'll get into, we have a couple more Twitter questions, so we'll grab into those too.
Yeah, one of the things, we were just talking about student environment and what the people are like here around campus, and one of the things that a lot of students find, and Ben, you were noting on meeting people and interacting and finding out different things about people, and one of the things that students find here is that we attract a very, very diverse student body here at Eastern. We have a lot of different people from a lot of different places, from a lot of different backgrounds that interact with each other, and we love that here. And the reason we love it so much is because the best way to learn is to interact with people who are different from you, because that's a great way to start understanding other people. We want our students talking and trying to understand one another and building relationships. You know, one of the unique things about the university is, you know, we get about 87% of our students from right here in the state of Michigan. However, we also get 8% of our students from Ohio. We have a 3.4% international student population, which represents 73 different countries around the globe. And then in addition to that, we have a student from every one of the 50 states represented at the university. So there's people from all over the place that are here. And it gives our students a great opportunity to learn what is outside of where they come from. You know, students, like Ben was explaining, they come from small towns where they've only known one thing for a long time. It gives students a great way to come in and talk to different people and see what's out there.
Sure. And I don't think you ever realize how much you truly grow through that experience. I think it's oftentimes you realize when you're growing in the classroom and you're doing an assignment and you realize you learned something from it. But when you learn something like that, how to learn from another culture and interact with a new culture that you may have not experienced before, that's important in your job that you're going to get into in the future, because you're going to be interacting with people from all over the world as part of that. So, all right, we have a question. Megan has asked us a question on Twitter. I'm going to have Kate take a stab at it. Oftentimes, students with disabilities, high school, the transition into college, it's very different with the services that are offered. So Kate, talk a little bit about the resources we have for students here that have learning disabilities.
Great. So actually right around the corner from our office in the Student Center, our office, the Admissions Welcome Center, is located in the Student Center. Right around the corner from us is the Disability Resource Center. So we've interacted with that staff a lot. And I would say this before anything else. If a student needs an accommodation in the classroom, whether that's due to a learning disability or a physical disability, we cannot accommodate you unless you ask us about it, right?
Yep.
So we've had that conversation with a lot of students. We've had that conversation with the staff in the Disability Resource Center, the DRC. A lot of students come with some documentation. They might have an individualized education plan, that IEP, or maybe a 504B that they're bringing with them. That documentation certainly is helpful to us, although I will say we don't necessarily require it. Again, it just goes along with if you need some assistance in the classroom, maybe you need some additional test taking time, maybe you need somebody to assist you with taking notes in class. We can't help you unless you ask about it. So absolutely, that office is there for students to take advantage of.
Sure, and those resources are not additional costs for students. So any resource that's needed for help in a classroom, like you said, whether it's a physical disability or a learning disability, those are all part of the cost that you're paying in your tuition. So it's important that we want students to use those resources if you need them. We want you to be successful in the classroom, and so we provide those for you.
One important thing that I'll actually add on to that is just kind of the philosophy that we use when we approach working with students that do have disabilities, and the big thing that we try to get from Eastern and the staff in our Disability Resource Center is making sure that students know we want to know what's going to help best for students.
Right.
Yep.
We're not going to try to shove accommodations down a student's throat. We'd rather say, what is going to help best for you? What can we do to help, if there's anything?
Sure.
So I think that's just something really important to know about the staff over there in that center.
Okay. Yeah, let's jump a little bit into living on campus. Oftentimes, the biggest nerve-wracking part for a student is figuring out who's going to be my roommate, where am I going to live on campus, kind of how does that process work. So Alex, talk a little bit about the process of applying to live on campus, how do I find a roommate, kind of where does that start?
Okay, so as far as the process for how to live on campus goes, the first thing that all of our students should know is that the majority of our residence halls across the university are set up what's called suite style. So the typical residence hall room is set up with, there's a room over here, 2 people live in it, there's a room over here, 2 people live in it, there's a bathroom that connects the 4 of you, and the 4 of you share the bathroom. That's a pretty typical setup. We do have a couple of residence halls on our campus that do have community bathrooms. One specifically is our Wise Hall. And the great part about community bathrooms is that you don't have to clean them.
Right.
You know, if you're in a bathroom that's your own, you do have to clean it, and that'll hit you about 3 weeks into school.
Yep.
When you've been here for a while and you're like, so that bathroom,
I
so
think I have yet to see a suite bathroom that is cleaner than a community bathroom, because those are being cleaned so frequently.
That's
Yeah.
true. Our university staff cleans university bathrooms 3 times a day.
Yep.
So they're always very clean. So what initially happens is once a student has decided that they want to come to school, they would fill out one of our housing contracts to let us know that they're interested in living on campus. So what happens is students are going to fill out those contracts, and when you initially fill out a housing contract, the first thing that's going to come up is they're going to have a little brief survey that's going to ask you some basic questions about yourself. I stay up late, I go to bed early, I need complete silence to study, I study with loud music, I'm messy, I'm clean, that kind of stuff. And then for students who are what we call the traditional going in blind, those are the students that we essentially take those survey results and we try to match them best as possible.
Sure.
But going in blind means that you're going to live with somebody who you haven't met before, you haven't known them in any previous way, so you're going to go in, you're going to meet a new person, and you're going to get along with that person and live with somebody like that. However, a lot of students ask, I'm coming to school with a friend of mine, is it possible for me and my friend to live together? And it absolutely is. What students need to do if they are interested in living with someone that they know is the 2 pieces of advice that we would give is make sure that you're signing up for housing at right about the same time, because we do place people as housing reservations come in throughout the year. And then in addition to that, make sure that you not only request to live with your friend, but also that your friend requests to live with you. If both parties haven't requested to live with one another, then the request won't be fulfilled.
Right.
And then the last thing that we do is we do offer a little bit more of an in-depth survey that almost serves as like an eHarmony for roommates, where students can answer questions and then they can look at the ways that other students answered, info about other students, and they can even put their contact information there so students can reach out to each other and say, hey, I'm also coming to school in fall 2015. Do you want to hook up? Do you want to be roommates? I notice we have a lot in common. So there's also that system as well. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but that's kind of the overview.
Sure, absolutely.
Alex, you made an important point about trying to get the housing applications done kind of in sync and doing that at the same time if you are requesting a roommate. But something to kind of keep in mind to go along with that is that you actually cannot complete your housing application until you're an admitted student. So that's important for students to know because we do not have that application deadline. However, you won't be able to complete that housing application and apply for housing at the same time as your friend until you've gone through that application process and been admitted.
Sure, absolutely. All right, we're going to jump into a question. We have a question from Nicole on Twitter. I'll take a stab at it. She says, what are some ways I can make new friends on campus? I think when you look at a school like Eastern that has over 23,000 students, you're going to find involvement is a key piece for students. And so it's probably not the easiest to meet a friend when you're about to start your basic intro to chemistry class and the professor's about to start speaking and you say, hey, can we be friends? That's probably not going to work for you. But what I want you to do is get involved. There is really, like I tell students, there's no excuse for not getting involved. There is guaranteed going to be something here at the university that interests you, whether it's a religious group, a political group. Alex mentioned the Nerf gun team. I would talk about like our Quidditch team that runs around with brooms between their legs.
I still can't wrap my head around that. But
there's so many things that are there. And so great place to start, Campus Life Office. They're there to help you get involved. We have a student government office. And so there's lots of ways. Start in the Student Center in the Campus Life Office. Let people know that you're looking for new ways to connect with friends and find new ways to get involved. And you know, that goes back to the type of student that Eastern attracts. The students here, they want to get to know other students. They think that's an important part of growing personally through that college experience. And so that would be my recommendation in that way, unless you guys have anything else that...
I think it's really important, too, for students to recognize and understand that they're going to have a lot of programming that occurs in the residence halls as well. And, of course, not every student lives in a residence hall, but grand portion of our incoming freshmen do live in a residence hall, and all of the residence halls have a lot of programming where you're interacting with students from your hall, from your building, you're meeting people that way. A lot of times I'll see things like intramural sports teams will form out of, you know, friends that you've made down your hallway. So living on campus is always a great way to meet people as well.
Sure. Okay, we have a couple minutes left. We're going to grab one more question here. This came in a week ago or so. My mother graduated from EMU with a master's degree. Does that make me eligible for any type of alumni or legacy scholarship? So Kate, can you talk a little bit about our legacy scholarship program?
Absolutely. So we do offer legacy scholarships or alumni scholarships. What I will say though is that they are not awarded out of the admissions office, right?
Yep.
So I always refer people to our alumni relations office. There is a separate application process that they will go through. Mostly what they're looking for though is the mom or dad, grandma or grandpa, they're looking for that graduation information, which of course they will have record of. What I can't say though is how much that scholarship will be, because a little bit of it does depend on how many people are inquiring about it every year. So just make sure that you are inquiring if in fact you are a legacy. So yes, we do offer those.
And I know that scholarship has a specific deadline as well, so you'll want to refer to the alumni website to make sure you get everything submitted, because like Kate said, it is a separate application for that specific scholarship. So, all right, grab another question. I enjoyed the academic fair portion of Explore Eastern. So many of you may have attended Explore Eastern this past Saturday, and you might have been to the academic fair portion. Is there additional ways that I can learn about the programs that I'm interested in? And we talked a little bit about our catalog website. Talk a little bit about what it would look like to come back for maybe another campus tour and how you'd get more of an in-depth look at a program.
Absolutely. So we know that Explore Eastern is one of those ways that a lot of students come out to get kind of a preview day of the university, and that's a great day to come for. But if students are interested in coming back for another visit, they're interested in coming back and see us again or get more information about their program, there's a couple of different things that they can do. One thing we would definitely encourage students to do is, if they want to get more information in general, is to come back for one of our individual campus tours. Now, we have individual campus tours Monday through Friday. We do them at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, and then we do them at 2 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So students can come for campus tours, come in, have a meeting with one of our admissions advisors, see the in-depth campus, and get every little question that they've got answered. And the other thing is, our departments tend to be very, very open to meeting with students who are interested in their programs as well. So if you'd like to set something up the same day as your campus tour, you can talk with our admissions office about that, but students can also reach out to those departments individually. When you do go on that catalog website, all of those course catalogs are going to include contact information for the department that you're interested in.
Sure.
So if you want to reach out to those folks, they are the best people to ask. We notice a lot of times when students start to get into that January, February, we're starting to make decisions and it's really coming down to that time, we almost find the folks in the program are almost even more helpful than we are. And the reason is because they can really tell you, this is what our program does, this is what our students are doing afterwards, this is how we work with you through the college process. And it's really important to make sure you're getting that information. So I tell you, reach out to the academic advisors within your specific programs, make sure you're getting all of the information that you can from them, because that is very, very important to understand before you start school.
Sure, and you're gonna find we have, if you're interested in one of those campus tours, I would encourage you to check out our website, emish.edu/visit, and add a daily campus tour. If you want to get specific department information, you can contact us and we'll help you with that. We're going to head into another quick break here. We'll be back and we're going to wrap things up with some more information and more questions, so please tweet us with those questions, and we'll be right back after this public service announcement.
I am true EMU.
We are true EMU.
I'll be right back. I told myself I'm just going to grab a quick drink. 2 minutes later, and everything was gone. My backpack, my laptop, my cell phone, my iPod. 2 minutes was all it took. I was lucky. The thief was eventually caught and I got it all back. But now that I had that happen to me, I realized that anything valuable has to be treated like cash. I'll never leave it out of my sight again. My name is Heather, and I'm trying to be safe.
All right, we are back from our short break. We're going to jump a little bit into students that may have taken dual enrollment courses. Maybe they're scheduled to take an AP or they're in an AP class right now, and they want to know a little bit about how that credit might be applied as they come in. So Kate, talk to us a little bit about how the dual enrollment and AP process works.
Okay. So a lot of students are taking some community college courses while they're in high school, which is a great opportunity for them to earn some college credit, make up a little bit of time, you know, when they're coming in as a college student, that might make some more time for things as they're finishing out their college years. If they are enrolled at a community college, in order to have that college credit actually transfer and follow you along to Eastern, we do require that the community college is in fact a college course. So it can't be, for example, a remedial math 097, something like that. So we usually say 100 level or 1000 level or higher. In order to actually have passing grades, we look for a C or higher. So that's a way for a student to bring in some college credit. Now, a lot of students also have AP opportunities in their high school, where you're taking that advanced placement exam at the end of the academic year. Typically what we're looking for in order to earn college credit is a 3 or higher on the AP test. It does vary a little bit by subject, by you know, different disciplines, but for the most part, a 3 is what's going to earn you college credit in that intro level course. Sometimes, if you score a 4 or a 5, that might also get you college credit for not just the intro level class, but kind of that secondary class as well. So it really creates a lot of opportunities for students to bring in some college credit. Sometimes we see students are coming in, even though we consider them to be a freshman, and they're considered for freshman scholarships, which is still a benefit for them. They might actually be classified as a sophomore by the time they're here, which is great.
And I know part of our orientation process, of course, is having students let us know about those AP exams and any dual enrollment that they did. We don't, the worst case thing we'd want it to happen is come to orientation, then we sign you up for the same course that you would have gotten credit for. So it's important when you come to orientation, you bring a copy of those transcripts with you, or make sure you have your scores or know your scores with you, so when you meet with an academic advisor, you can let them know, this is the score I got, and they'll make sure they get you signed up for the right class. So.
And can I ask actually a follow-up question for you?
Sure.
That I know we also get a lot of questions about. Could you talk a little bit about how we handle IB credits as well?
So it's kind of the same sort of situation as AP, except the courses are a little different, but it does come into play a little bit later on in the academic year, again, when you're registering for orientation, which we call fast track. So we're going to require the documentation for the IB courses just like we do for the AP tests. And same thing. So when students are registering for their fast track orientation, which they will do online, it will ask things on that registration like, have you taken any college courses, the dual enrollment? Have you taken any AP courses? Have you taken any IB courses? So that's where it really starts to become important, and the academic advisors use that information, but it's just a matter of getting the documentation for those courses.
And we're looking for successful completion of the higher level IB courses that you'll be taking in high school. So, all right, we have another question. This one I'm going to give to you, Alex, because you're recent out of your bachelor's degree and in your master's. So talk to me a little bit about LBC. I'm sure you know what that means. So you can maybe touch on a little bit about how you earned that credit here at Eastern.
All right, so for those who aren't aware of what LBC credit is actually a pretty unique part of our curriculum here at Eastern. A part of our general education program is called Learning Beyond the Classroom. And what Learning Beyond the Classroom is we actually have built into the curriculum that we kind of force our students out of the classroom and into extracurricular experiences that are going to force them to use their learning in practical ways. We want to make sure that students are learning in more than one way. Now, there's a lot of ways that students can earn their Learning Beyond the Classroom credit while they're in school. For example, some of the ways that I earned them. A lot of students tell you they earn their LBC credit and they don't even realize it. And then they get to their third year of school and they're like, hey, I had my LBC credit because I went to campus events, because I did different things on campus. Earning LBC credit can be as easy as having a leadership position within a student organization, going to a lecture on campus. We invite people from all around the country to come and speak to our students about specific topics that they might be experts in. So you can go to those lectures, going to a theater production, going to a music production. Any of those things are great ways to earn credit. I know I earned credit being a student employee in the Admissions Welcome Center when I was a student. There are a lot of different ways that you can earn that credit, but what we really want to focus on is getting students out there and getting them involved in other things. And if you're one of those students that gets involved, that does different things, that kind of puts their hand in different parts of campus, the thing is, by the time you get finished with your college career, it's almost difficult to have not earned that credit.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
But you do want to make sure you're paying attention and getting that credit in while you're in school.
Sure, absolutely. It's a great way that it's very unique, as you said, that we have that rolled into our general education. And you'll find, like, it's not something that's hard to do. I mean, students will oftentimes ask about, I'm really nervous about this LBC credit, and we're like, if you're involved, you're gonna be fine. You'll get enough LBC credit that you will not have to worry about that. So it goes back to that piece of involvement, and we want you to be outside the classroom learning. So that kind of jumps into another area. Alex, you mentioned working on campus, having a job on campus. Many of our students are working while they're in classes. I believe each one of us probably had a job or two while we were in college, or three, yes. And so talk a little bit about how we would learn about jobs on campus and what's the best way to start applying for jobs coming in as a freshman.
Okay, so one of the things that we do for first year students is in the first week of school, we actually hold a university job fair, which is a great way for students to initially learn what jobs are out there, where can I get jobs, what's available to me. Students can go to that, they can bring their resume, they can walk around, talk to folks who are hiring. There are a lot of people who hire people that day. That does happen. Jobs on campus, you can find them in a lot of different places. You can find jobs on campus at all offices need clerical staff. In the Admissions Welcome Center, we employ tour guides. All of our food places around campus need line cooks and servers and cashiers and all of those kind of people. So there's a lot of different places that you can find a job. And all you really have to do is kind of go out there and look around for them.
Sure. I think understanding too, oftentimes your job can be something that grows you in a different area that you might not have known about. I can't tell you how many of our tour guides work in our office, really didn't know a lot about working possibly in higher ed, and now are transitioning and want to pursue a master's in higher education and get involved in the admissions office or in campus life. And so I encourage students, if you're looking to work on campus, the very first place you should start is in the program or in the department that you're looking to go into. So if you're an elementary education intent major, you probably should go to the College of Education and ask what jobs are available. If you get a job working at the front desk in the College of Education, you're going to be talking to your professors every single day. When they go inside and outside of that office, you're interacting with them. So what a better way, you want a great way to interact with professors and get to know them. Start first with your department. You'll also learn a lot about department available scholarships that might be for you. And so it's important to understand scholarships don't run out when you start in college. There's a lot available in the form of endowments for students, and a lot of times that comes through just working on campus, getting to know the people on campus through a campus job. So.
And one thing I would also add to about finding an on-campus employment opportunity, take advantage of our academic advising and career counseling office. So it is kind of a twofold office, but a lot of the on-campus positions are posted through that office. They'll handle the application process and things like that, but they also have internship opportunities posted there as well. So absolutely, you need to interact with faculty to get some ideas, because like I mentioned earlier, they have connections to the real world. But that office also has some assistance in terms of finding internships, maybe even positions off of campus. It is totally possible for a student to have an employment position that doesn't take place on the campus itself, maybe down the road working at one of the restaurants or something like that. But then for career counseling, that kind of comes into play a little bit later on for the student that is nearing college graduation. They're starting to get a little nervous. We have some awesome career counseling. We will go over things like, helping you with your resume, cover letter writing. We'll do mock interviews. So they really do help you prepare for that otherwise kind of intimidating experience when you're getting ready to enter the real world. So
yeah, that's a very good point. I think we can't speak enough about our Career Development Center that we have here, and it's so important for our students to take advantage of that from year one. We see students that go running there in year 4, right before they're about to graduate, and they would need help finding a job or finding an internship. But they have like a 4-year cycle that every year you're working on a different element of your resume, your cover letter. They're doing mock interviews with you, and so that's an important part of college. It's actually what you're paying for. It's all part of your tuition. So when we talk about free services, I always think they're not really free. They're actually part of your tuition, so it's up to you to take advantage of those things. So, all right, we're going to jump over to Twitter. We have another question from Allie. Oh boy, this is a good one. Alex, Ben, and Kate, who's more true EMU?
I think the answer is obvious.
I think the answer is obvious. It definitely has to be Alex. So
It's obviously me. I am clearly more true EMU.
what makes you true EMU, Alex?
I would say the thing that makes me true EMU is the thing that makes a lot of our students true EMU, and I was talking about it a little bit earlier, and it's that I love this place. I mean, I go out a lot of times and I talk to people, and obviously we talk very highly about the university, and it's one of those things that I always joke with people that, trust me, they don't pay me enough to lie to you, which is true. But on the same level, the thing is, one of the best parts about doing a job like this is, and doing it at a place that I like so much, is that I don't have to. I don't have to tell people that there's some lie about how wonderful this place is, because it really is. Sure. But the reason that it's wonderful to me is because I found my place here. And everyone finds it in a different way. Every student's going to come in here, and nobody's going to have the same path that I did.
Right.
Just like nobody's going to have the same path that my best friend did coming through here. But everybody can find their place here, and I found mine, and it's really special to me. And that's why no matter where I go from here, no matter what comes after, EMU is going to be a part of my life forever.
Sure.
And it's something that I hold very important to me.
Yeah, I think that each one of us have found, even in this career field, we're really passionate about what we do. I can't talk so much about my college experience and what it meant for me, but it's really what grew me into be passionate about talking to other students about that experience, because I want them to have that same experience. And so coming here, getting my master's from Eastern has allowed me to grow in this higher education field, and really just being passionate about serving students and making sure that they find the school that fits them the best. Whether that's Eastern or not, each one of us are passionate about you as students finding that school. We're here we're kind of finalizing things tonight. I do want to remind you one more time, all the answers to these questions can be found at Explore, the Explore site, so emish.edu/explore. I encourage you, if you want to come and check out the campus again, please go to our visit website where you'll find all of our campus tours that are options for you. If you want to meet a specific department or an advisor, get in contact with us in our admissions office. We're more than happy to help you with that. So in closing, I want to mention a couple things. First of all, we're here on campus. What an awesome way that we're here in the studio on campus, and we're working with students that are producing everything. And so I want to thank all of our students who have produced and run this show for us today. So thank you very much. And I want to thank you for participating and watching us. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you enjoy your search for the best college. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.